GBL coaches, welcome to this version of the 2021 coaches meeting. Yeah, this is not how we normally get together and do our coaches meeting, but with the circumstances, the way they are with the pandemic, we really couldn't bring 400 plus coaches together inside a building. So this year, the coaches meeting is virtual. So thanks for joining us. For all you first-time coaches, welcome to the Germantown Baseball League. We're glad to have you. We love our volunteers, and this league cannot exist without volunteers, as you know. So we're glad to have you. And the way we'll do it is you're going to be hearing from your division directors in the next few days. They're all setting up Zoom calls with the head coaches of each league to go over league-specific rules. So for the purpose of today in this meeting, we're just going to go over some general things that we need to discuss to get you ready for the 2021 baseball season. As you know, we may have seen practices will start in March. Probably that first week in March, we'll hopefully be able to get on the field and start practicing. That'll give us about a month of practices. With Easter being as early as it is this year, we're going to start games that first Monday in April, and we will wrap up the season with the playoffs the second and third week of June. We're giving ourselves a little bit more time this year as far as scheduling goes because there still are some restrictions and protocols that will be in place once the game schedule starts as it relates to scheduling and spacing out games and such. We don't have that information yet. We don't want that information yet. We're hoping things start to get even better than they are now concerning the pandemic, and there'll be even less restrictions. But we've got to give ourselves some time, so we are going to extend the season a little bit further than we normally do. We're also excited about that. That gives us some leeway with rainouts in the playoffs and stuff like that. So we think it'll be a good thing. But with the pandemic, we just felt this year that was a smart move to make. I mentioned some protocols as it relates to the pandemic and COVID. There will still be some restrictions, protocols, guidelines in place when the season begins. We will get those to you so you can relay those to your teams. The on-field stuff will not be affected that much. It will be somewhat back to normal. The biggest goal or challenge that we have when it comes to the COVID protocols is the dugouts. That's the most problematic point that we have in relation to the pandemic. For practices, we're asking that the players do not use the dugout. Just have them hang their bags or place their equipment outside the dugouts, and do not use the dugouts during practices. Try to keep them spaced out as much as you can, but we all know it's hard to keep kids away from each other. Do your best as a coach, but we understand that there are challenges that come with that. And as I mentioned earlier, there will be some probably restrictions on the way we schedule games. We may have to schedule some more time in between games. We don't know that yet. That information will come to us closer to the start of the season, and we'll get that from the city and county officials, how they want us to do that. So as far as, yes, there will be COVID protocols in place. We will take precautions. We will get a more detailed list to you. It will be somewhat more normal this year than it was when we resumed in June of last year, if you were part of that season. But we've got a better handle on things. We know how to do things now. And again, the problem and where we're going to ask y'all help is with the dugouts. Practices, no dugouts can be used. For games, try to keep the kids separated as best you can, even moving some kids out of the dugout outside the fence. Especially at Cameron Brown, those dugouts are smaller. At Bob Haley, it's not such an issue. There is room to spread out, and you also have the bullpen areas that you can use to space kids out. Let's talk about coaching. And I still consider myself a coach. I still coach baseball. And we have to ask ourselves, why do we do this? Why do we want to coach rec baseball? If your answer is, I want to do this to win a championship, we may be in it for the wrong reasons. I've never met a recreational coach who is coming off a championship season that got a contract extension or a raise. It just doesn't happen, okay? The point I'm making is the reason we do this, we need to be invested in these kids. This is recreational baseball. Yes, it's a little bit higher notch rec ball than is played around the area at churches or some other little leagues, but it's still recreational baseball and softball. So we have to keep that in mind when we do our job. We all want to win. Let's face it. We all want to win. I want to win. You want to win. We all want to win. And that's probably our ultimate goal. And you want to win for the kids. But I can tell you, after doing this for so many years, that about 5 or 10 minutes after that game, most kids at this level and the younger ages, they've already forgotten about it. They're focused mainly on getting to that favorite pizza joint, getting that milkshake, or heading to Sonic with their friends to get a post-game snack. Us as coaches, on the other hand, we will let that loss or decision stay with us all night long, keep us up at night until we get back on the baseball field. So sometimes I think we should probably take more of the approach of the kids and, hey, okay, yes, we lost, but it was just a game. And hopefully the kids learn something in that loss. I want to challenge you as coaches to invest in your kids, invest in your players. And I even challenge you more to invest in your lower level players more so than your upper level players. And that's hard as coaches to do. But we try to balance these teams out so it's competitive across all leagues, all divisions. So you will have some players that are more physically talented, and you'll have some players that are physically challenged. And I'm asking you, and we're asking you as an organization, to make sure you invest time in those that are physically or skills challenged and work with them to make them love this game and make them a better ball player. And the other thing I like to tell my coaches is we're all going to become role models in some way this year. You may make an impression on one kid on your team. You may make an impression on every kid on your team. You never know. But I promise you, there will be a kid or multiple kids that will look up to you throughout the next several months. Cherish that, embrace that, and be that role model for them. I think most of us can recall playing youth league baseball, little league baseball, growing up. We have some great memories. A lot of us still think about some of the coaches we have. And I challenge you as coaches, to do that. Become a role model and make a difference in at least one of your players' seasons. So I have to give this speech every year, and I call it my knucklehead speech. There will be some coaches that are watching this coaches meeting today, watching this video, that will at some point during the season become a knucklehead. You don't know it now. Hope you don't know it now, but you will. And there's no need to be a knucklehead. We don't need knuckleheads. We want to be those role models. We want to be those coaches that are encouraging the kids. And I had a couple of years ago, we were about mid-season, and I had a coach come up to me at Cameron Brown, and he pulled me off to the side, and he said, Rob, I have to apologize. I said, for what? I mean, I had just watched his game, and everything had been good. He said, my wife pulled me aside not long ago and told me the way I was acting on the field was unacceptable, and I did not realize it. And he goes, I immediately thought of your speech and said, I'm that knucklehead. So I'm just asking everybody, don't be a knucklehead. Be a great coach. Be a great coach. And that takes me to my next point. And sometimes when that knucklehead comes out in coaches, and it's dealing with our umpires. And umpires are out there to make the game run smoothly. And so I have a few rules that I always pass along to the coaches. Hopefully you will listen to me. Keith Weiss, who is our USC for umpires, will echo this if you talk to him. During a game, judgment calls, strike ball, fair foul, out safe. Those are judgment calls. They should not be argued. That's the way the umpire saw it. He's not going to change his call. They should not be argued, plain and simple. I don't want to see anything argued, to be honest with you. Now, if there is a rule discrepancy, a question about a rule, and you need to discuss it with the umpire, you can call timeout, ask if you can approach, and talk about it as gentlemen. Most every umpire I know will honor that. If they don't, let us know. But most umpires will most certainly talk to you in a mild manner about a call that is not a judgment call, that may be a rule discrepancy or something like that. Handle it in a calm, mature fashion. The home plate umpire is the lead umpire. As you know, in several of these leagues, several of our divisions, we have teenagers who work as umpires in the field. If you have an issue, take it up with the home plate umpire. Even if the issue is with the teenage or field umpire, take it up with the lead umpire, the home plate umpire. The teenager should not be approached in any shape, form, or manner. I know most of you have kids. You would not want an angry grown man yelling at your son. So pretend that field umpire is your son if you have to. But there should be no ill will toward those young men trying to get a start in umpiring or even continuing their baseball career now that they can't play anymore. So I always want to urge you in that manner. If you have issues, please take it up with the home plate umpire. I can't emphasize that enough. So I got all the good news. And the good news is I get to tell you congratulations now. Congratulations, you've made the playoffs. That's right. You have made the playoffs, and you haven't even taken the field yet. That's the great thing about the Germantown Baseball League. Everybody is in the postseason when the season starts. We don't leave anybody out. And we have a great format for our postseason playoffs. Once we get to the playoffs, we're really not seeded yet. We institute a pool play. So we have a week of games, which usually guarantees at least 2 or 3 extra games in the playoffs where teams play. We take the combined records of each pool division, and we move those teams into bracket play, and then we seed it from there. So it's 2 great weeks of baseball, 2 fun weeks of baseball, and I did want to congratulate you on making the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, one thing that I need to stress to you, and I do this every year, is as a coach, especially in the kid pitch divisions, develop pitching. Develop pitching over the year. You're going to have 1 or 2 kids that are really good pitchers, and you can probably get by and win a lot of games using those 1 or 2 kids most all the time during the regular season, the way the season schedule plays out. You cannot get through the playoffs with 1 or 2 kids. You will not last long. And I've seen it too many times. Teams rely on 1 or 2 pitchers to get them a lot of wins in the regular season. They get to the playoffs and they have no pitching depth. And it is a recipe for disaster. So again, develop pitching. Work with your guys. Get guys comfortable throwing on the mound. You can never have enough pitching. And so that is my hint to you. As we go through the course of the season, I'm a veteran of this. I've seen a lot of things play out. Develop pitching. Another emphasis we have this year is we want to start developing catchers. The catching position has been kind of neglected, if you will. Not a lot of emphasis has been put on it. And so we want to develop catchers as well. We're changing the rules up a little bit in the 9-10 division this year. I know Jay Ledger, the 9-10 coaches, can talk more about this, but runners can score now on a wild pitch or pass ball in the 9-10 division. So it's going to put a little more emphasis on the catching position, and that is by design. We are Dizzy Dean sanctioned. That is the 9-10 Dizzy Dean rule, and so we are instituting that this year, starting with the 2021 season. And then, when you can, move kids around. Don't lock kids into one position, if at all possible. This is a rec league, and everybody, wants to play infield. Nobody wants to play outfield. Of course, in the major leagues, everybody that plays outfield makes a lot of money. But I get it, but if you're winning, if you're losing, and it's a safe move that doesn't put a child's in danger, move them around, let them play different positions. And same with practice. It's not going to hurt to play kids in different positions at practice. So I do urge you to do that. Let's talk about rosters. Normally, following the coaches' meeting, you would leave the facility with your roster in hand. Those rosters will be coming following your division Zoom calls. We do not have a draft. We have the evaluations. We take the scores from the evaluations, and then we try to put together the most competitively balanced group of teams in each league that we can. A lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of head scratching is put into this process. Myself and all the league directors spend numerous hours trying to get this right. And our one goal is we want our champion, whoever that may be, in whichever league it may be, to ideally have 5, 6, 7 losses through the season. And that means we did our job right. Now, can we get it right every time? No, we're not going to get it right every time. Some kids may have scored higher than they should have at evaluation. Some kids may have scored lower. There's a lot of factors that go in. But I want you to know the amount of time and effort that goes in to trying to keep everything as balanced as it can be. We do not stack teams. We've been accused of stacking teams before. We do not stack teams. We will not stack teams. And we are getting firmer and firmer on that each and every year. And, halfway through the season, we may see where we made an error, and there's nothing we can do about it. But our goal in putting these teams together is we want our champions to have 5, 6, 7 losses at the end of the year. We will allow trades this year. I discourage trades. Like I said, we put a lot of time and effort into getting these teams where they think they need to be. This year, the division directors will have the ability to deny trades. If you're trading one of your lower ranked players to a team for one of their higher ranked players, that division director does have the ability to decline that trade. If you're going to make trades, make sure they are fair trades. And there will be some instances that you need to pay attention. We have a few players across each division that for one reason or another must be on the same team. And if those players are marked as going together, if you make the trade for them, then you have to trade both of them. Otherwise, that trade will be nullified. I encourage you, try not to get crazy with trades. But if you have to, there will be an opportunity to do that following each division Zoom meeting with your league director. Uniforms. Uniforms is another thing that you would normally be walking out of the facility with following the coaches meeting. We're having to reinvent that process this year. And Kristen New, one of our board members, does a great job with uniforms. And I know she's working hard right now. We're working on a system. We'll probably have a day where we have kind of a uniform equipment drive-through or pickup. I guess drive-through is the new kind of fun word, but probably be a pickup. We'll probably have each division come at a certain time at probably the Bob Haley parking lot, something like that, where you'll pick up your team uniforms and your team equipment for the season. We're also had to change the way we distribute uniform pants for the year. We usually let the parents pick those pants up during evaluations, but not being able to have as many people on site, we were not able to do that. So we will probably be including the pants in with the uniforms this year. And I think we may ask the coaches to simply email your players and get what size pant that they need. And we will make sure you have those sizes. And then if there is a wrong size, the parents can reach out to us and we'll try to get that corrected. So that's kind of the way we're going to handle this distribution of uniforms this year. We don't take requests for shirt sizes. We have a formula we use that's worked for many, many years. You will have enough uniforms that fit your players. Now, we've had some instances where there have been some larger or taller kids in certain age groups, and if you do need, if you have a uniform, you've got to cut the sleeves out to put on a player, let us know. We'll get you a bigger jersey. That's not a problem. Encourage the kids to keep up with their hats. We do have extra hats, but they don't grow on trees. So encourage them to take care of their uniform. Put it in their backpack or put it in a safe place at home. Keep it away from the dog. Dogs love to chew bills of hats. Just encourage your players to take care of that uniform because they have one hat, one jersey, and one belt. So we need to get that, probably taken care of. Yes, if somebody loses a hat, loses a shirt, we can get replacements. But when it comes to hats, there may be a small price involved because we do have to order those. We don't keep a lot of those in stock. I would encourage you as a coach to visit our website and check out the Positive Coaches and Parents Alliance that we instituted about 3 years ago. Read through that. And then as you get your rosters and you start communicating with your team, I encourage each of you to email either the link to that to all your parents or just copy it and send an email with that. All parents are required to sign that when they register, but just like terms and conditions on anything, they scroll to the bottom and click it. So I encourage you, if you would, to try to communicate that Positive Coaches and Parents Alliance with your families once you get your rosters. Speaking of the website, please utilize the website. We'll have field closures on there. There's rules are listed on the website, updated rules. There's a lot of good information there. And, sometimes you can reach out to your league director for questions, but sometimes you can probably find it right there on the website. Schedules and all that on the website. So it's a good tool as a coach to utilize, and I encourage you to really try to use that website to your advantage. Communication with your parents. To me, as a head coach, that's one of your biggest jobs. And I joke all the time and say this, but if mama's not happy, nobody's happy. So communicate with your parents. Get a good system down, whether it's a weekly email on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, letting them know the schedule of the upcoming week, whatever you think is best. I just urge you to communicate, over-communicate if you have to, with your parents. The schedules are always posted online. Parents will have them, they can have them online. Everybody has a phone. They can see it there. They should receive notifications a day or two prior to each event, whether it be a practice or a game. And there's also an app that we will be sending more information out as they get closer to the season once we get the rosters finalized. That is through Dick's Sporting Goods that syncs to our website. And if everything is in place and they've got the bugs worked out, it's a fabulous, fabulous tool for us. But we're not going to get too much into that today because they were still working some kinks out with that. And updating it. But once that gets fully updated and ready to go, we'll get information out to you on how to use that app from Dick's Sporting Goods. Scores, pitch counts is a responsibility that each of you coaches will have after the game. We ask that you, both coaches in every game, email, text, however your league director would like to receive that information, the score of your game, and if you're in kid pitch, the number of pitches thrown by each pitcher. Your league directors will get into more of that during their division meetings, but please get in a habit of doing that. We don't need to chase down scores and pitch counts the next day, especially on days where there's games multiple days in a row. We need to get that updated on the website so that the coaches can have that information. The weather and field hotline will be updated by the city. That number is on our website. We will also have field conditions updated on our website and then the banner on top of our website. So I encourage you to use that number as much as you can before you start calling league directors and asking them if the fields are open. We work with the city on deciding when not the fields should be open. So we usually know when they do if the fields are going to be open. On practices, we schedule every available slot we can. We want to give you as many practices as possible. If you can't use a practice, that's your prerogative. But if you need to switch a practice time, communicate with the other coaches. Your league directors should be giving you contact information for all the coaches in your league. If you need to swap, just make sure you're communicating with the coach and work that swap out so we're not having to do it on our end. With 100 teams over baseball and softball, it's next to impossible to keep up with practice swaps. So we're asking if you need to swap a practice time, just reach out to a fellow coach in the league and see if they'd be willing to swap a practice time. The last thing I wanted to mention before we close, two things actually, is directors on duty. We have a great group of board of directors. And without them, my job would be next to impossible. They are there for support and do a lot of work behind the scenes. And I want to take a second to mention them real quick. I hope you get to meet them. Kevin Ferguson is our president again this year. Kevin's been with the board for 6 or 7 years now. Bill Ryan, who's been here since day one of GBL, still serves as our treasurer. Kristen New, who I mentioned earlier. Brad Griffith. David Cole does a great job with our softball league. Keith Weiss, who's also our UIC for umpires. Myron Martin. Edward Wildrick. Jay Ledger. Thomas Holcomb. Webb Smith. Ben Sutton. And Nathan Hill. Those men and women do a great job behind the scenes, put in a lot of hours to make this league run as smooth as it does, and I am so thankful to have them in my corner. In addition to that, your league directors, and let each of you know who your league directors are for the 2021 season. Myron Martin will be heading up the T-ball division again this year. Myron's done a great job with T-ball over the last several years. Edward Wildrick will once again be heading up junior coach pitch. Edward has done a great job kind of transforming that league into more of what we want from our 6-year-old league. Ben Sutton will have coach pitch again this year. Jay Ledger will be the league director for 9-10. Brad Griffith will handle 11 and 12 division. 13 and 14 coaches, sorry, you're stuck with me. Jeff Willamy will once again handle our high school division, and then David Cole will oversee our softball division. If you are interested in being director on duty during the 2021 season, please reach out to me or your division director. Directors on duty assist us on game nights, keeping an eye on the park, kind of the big man on campus, if you will. It's hard to have multiple people in multiple places every night of the week, which it pretty much boils down to. So we like to bring on some directors on duty. So maybe there's one person working one night a week, and we can really be effective. So if you're interested in that, and obviously you'll need more information, reach out to me or your league director, and we can definitely share some more information.